And then there's another important aspect of definition of ready, which is different from the definition of done. Very important again, because here you're talking about the aspect of the feature or the story, whether it is ready for the development team to actually pick it up and start working on that. So that's the readiness, is actually whether it is in a state that it is good enough for the development team to start working on that particular story. So add item, for example, or add, the view the item details page, for example, is the story. That view item details page perhaps is not ready by the end of the sprint one, because the detailing is still not ready. The requirements, how it should be done, how it should be looking like, what it should have, is not completed by the analyst or the product owner. So you say that that is not ready for sprint one. But by the end of sprint one, that is by the time the sprint two starts, the sprint two planning, you'll have the detailing of this ready and all these acceptance criteria written. So by the end of the sprint one, it will be ready. So for the sprint two, the development team can actually take that set of stories and work on the item details page. So that's how you're actually talking about the readiness for that to be taken for development. That's the readiness we're talking about. And it's not really as popular as the definition of done in terms of the application of the implementation in the practical aspects, but very, very important, because I have used it myself in loads of situations and in the past. And even I did a huge set of process re-engineering work in my previous engagement with one of the leading banks, where I worked with the product owners, with the BAs, and with the development team to make sure that we have got a very good framework of DoR. The definition of ready also had the what we call as the story refinement sessions. So I introduced a new concept called a story refinement session. So we sit with the development team, with the architects, with the solution architect, and actually have the story put up for discussion, and then we actually go through the detailing even before we start the planning session, the sprint planning session. So by that time, the development team would be in a good position to understand what is required for them to complete, or for them to start developing this particular story. So again, that's another piece of thing that I've started. So what does it really mean, definition of ready, DOR? It defines what a piece of work needs to have in place before we can start the work on implementing that, or executing, or coding, or developing, or deploying on the server. So that's the whole idea. So when we talk about DOR for a story, we need to have the acceptance criteria agreed. So it's not met, it's not still tested, right? We are still talking about getting the acceptance criteria in place, and test cases created, testing not done, test cases just created. We're talking about estimates agreed. The story points have to be agreed on that at that point of time. You know what, there still could be an option of the development team having a refined estimate later. They can change the estimate later, but at least we have got some baseline estimates saying that, okay, I think this story is about medium size. I think it's about 8 story points because of these things. So that's fine. That's a good enough indication for us to actually see and put it in a sprint. And we can always do during the time of sprint planning, we can again go to the details of each of that. And then the wireframes, if there are any wireframes required, if there are any data model required, all of that need to be agreed upon and created by this time. So we have got a good idea. And that's called definition of ready. So the point here is that we need to understand the user stories have to satisfy some kind of conditions here. The stories need to have some condition. Tasks, again, not just when I say stories, it need not necessarily be user stories. It could be technical tasks, it could be subtasks, it could be changes, defects, whatever it be. All of them come with their own set of conditions, their own set of parameters for us to actually say that they need to meet, so that we can then say it's now ready for you to prioritize. Yeah, so the conditions, all these conditions would actually be whether it could be about the acceptance criteria. Do we have all the acceptance criteria? In the case of item details page, for example, we don't have the item, we don't have the criteria and the conditions ready, the acceptance criteria ready now. So we can't take that for sprint one, right? So that's why we started work on the items list page, which is actually just listing all the items in grid view, or it could be in the form of thumbnails. So that's the first page that we'll work on for sprint one, which is starting Monday, let's say. And then from Monday onwards, what the business analyst and the product owner would work on, as the development team is working on coding this, they will start working on the detailing of the item details page, which is about showing that item photo, the title, description, reviews, and perhaps a 360-degree view of that item, or things like that. So the detailing would go in there. And that's when, once it is ready, once the acceptance criteria are there, once we add the wireframe, how that item should look like, how the photos, the specification of the photos, the image, the JPEG or things like the resolution, all the photos should be in the library of all the 50 odd items that we have. If there's any GIFs kind of a thing that need to be shown, or a video for 360-degree view of the item, again, that need to be shown and ready in the library. All of these would actually contribute to thinking that, okay, now this is ready. So the team can actually look at these things, all these things in the next, before the next sprint planning, that is by the end of October. And then they actually look at, okay, fair enough. Now we've got all these in place. Now we can start working on this from sprint 2. That's from November 1st. Yeah, so they can try and have a look at that. Or they can say, you know what, it's not ready. I still need some more time. Or I still need some more of these detailing that is missing. So go back and work on that. And they again come back. And perhaps it can go into the sprint 5 or sprint 3, depending on the detailing available. So that's called definition of ready.